Hello, and welcome to the Digital Workspace Works podcast. I'm Ryan Purvis, your host, supported by our producer Heather Bicknell. In this series, you'll hear stories and opinions from experts in the field, stories from the front lines, the problems they face and how they solved them, the areas they're focused on from technology, people and processes, to the approaches they took that will help you to get to the grips with the digital workspace inner workings.
So my name is Kevin Macaringue, and I'm basically the founder of an Agritech company in Mozambique called Mobiz Studio. Generally we have two wings. Let's call it. One is Agritech Moz, which does what's on the name, but then we also have Mobiz Studio, which is more a general software development agency. So I've been working in the Agtech space for about 4 or 5 years now. Okay. And yeah, it's interesting to use technology to drive rural development. So that's what we do.
Oh, interesting. Well, welcome on the podcast. It's great to chat with you. So tell me a bit about Agritech, because I don't know anything about Agritech. What kind of stuff you guys doing?
Okay, great. So at Agritech Moz, what we've been doing is essentially working with private sector organizations in Southeast Asia, so mainly in India, and also with some NGOs here in Mozambique. And essentially what we do is we use technology development or technology tools such as mobile applications, websites, and other things like that to drive certain objectives in the rural development space. So practically speaking, if you need a software tool that can help you improve the delivery of agronomic extension, track projects in the agricultural space or rural development in general, but specifically in agriculture, you need some consultancy in how do you build software tools that are fit for purpose in the agricultural department. That's where Agritech Moz essentially works. And that's just one subset of the whole Agritech domain. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me some stuff that you guys have solved. What kind of problems have you solved with what you're doing?
Okay. So one of our biggest projects currently is essentially developing a software tool that helps transform field business issues or field activities or workflows for people who spray cashew in northern Mozambique, and building a software around the whole business workflow to help train those users to become more business-like. So it's like they do that work anyway, spraying cashew trees, but it's still very much informal, and they don't really have that idea of tracking which clients they have, leads, registering the type of information that they normally capture, like the types of trees, etc., that the farmers they work with have, and turning that into a business. So what we do is we build a software application that sort of copies the workflow that they're doing on the field, but tries to transform it into something that can start to bring them some data visualization, some reports, and we see if that can bring digital transformation to the most rural areas. Yeah. So that's our flagship project. Yeah.
I love it. And I mean, who's funding you to do that? Is it a commercial model and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but is it something that they're paying you to do, or are you getting grants to pay for the technology, or is the intention that they will generate revenue by using your service and then you just take a cut? I'm just curious about what the commercial model is.
Great. So interestingly, for the commercial model, it's a bit divided into two different business lines. So that one is more it's more for our business line called Mobiz, which is where we just outhouse software development agency. So we develop that and we leave it with the client, but naturally, we offer some support, some consultancy on how to monetize it. We help them do the bridge between the type of projects they close and perhaps even some other stakeholders that be interested. But for Agritech Moz, what we're doing is so that's our other business line, just to draw that distinction always. What we're doing is we're picking up the learnings from all of these different projects and experiences that we're doing, and we're using them to build one unified SAS tool specifically for the agtech space, because you'll find out that many of these organizations have very similar requirements, and it's not efficient redeveloping. So what we're doing is we're kind of combining all of that into one-stop solution, let's say, for most of the ag tech needs. But that's still under development. We're a very small team and bootstrapped, so those things take time. Yeah.
And you're building the whole thing yourself, or using low code, no code products to build your
No, we
SaaS?
prefer to build. Yeah, we're computer engineers, so we're going to build everything ourselves. I mean, we are building everything ourselves. We don't really use
Okay.
no code solutions. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And yourself, Dara, how do you fit into the picture? Kevin and I have been chatting, but tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi,
I
Dara.
am Dara Batalha. I am new at the company actually. I was contracted as business developer. I am helping to get more opportunities and to get more closer to the clients and to expand our business. This is my main goal. Yes,
Yep.
that's my main goal. And one of my more important tasks is to expand and to look more for. I'm talking about national, international opportunities.
Interesting. That's great. And how do you find your customers? I mean, do you go out literally and go to all the farms and talk to them, or is it through partnerships and that sort of thing?
Yes, partnerships. That is the most important part of our business, because not all of the opportunities are reachable by ourselves, but with one partner, sometimes it's more, how can I say, tangible. More than that, not just the clients, but all the people that may create a certain, how can I say, a certain impact in our business, like yourself, like many other people that are considered entities to contribute to our kind of work.
So, I mean, give me an idea. I mean, are you guys actually fulfilling? So you work with a farmer. They're spraying the cashews, as you mentioned. Are you connecting them with purchases of cashews internationally, or are you just providing them the technology to measure their yield, and they still have to go find their market to sell their nuts? That's an open question to both of you.
Sure. Good. So great point. I think it's a very good question, and I mean it cuts to the heart of what value do you deliver in agri-technology? Because any intervention, eventually you have to be able to help the person sell, right? So for this particular project that we're discussing, although we obviously can't go into too many details because we're working with some NGO partners, but specific in this project, what we do is we make sure that through the technology, the purchasers of the eventual output always have a link into it, right? Because they're a very key stakeholder, because they're the ones that bring in the money eventually. So what we do is we provide a solution for them to be able to go there. But definitely driving that link and building that link, that's not always our main sector. We really focused on providing the software solution and obviously the deployment process, because one thing is building a tool. I think anybody can build a very nice tool, and you don't really need us if you just want to build a tool. But what you do need to know is how do I actually embed this tool into the communities? What is the most sustainable way to make sure that people are using them? And obviously, as well with these type of software tools, is how do you structure the maintenance? So we're also, for example, in discussions with another partner who want to operate something a little bit away from agriculture, but more in the rural development space. And one of their main challenges they found is how do you do the maintenance over time? So that's something that we've been able to debate with them for some time, because we've had different members of our team, and also some of the consultants we work with have had the opportunities to do these type of projects across different geographies. So that's another point of value where we try to work. Because I mean, I've done it. It's very difficult, and the first couple of times I can say I messed up, but after some time you get to learn, and you can always simplify things for whoever you work with. Yeah.
No, and simplicity is important, and reducing friction. I mean, I've never been to Maputo, but I've been obviously in Africa a lot, And I don't think people understand what rural looks like, especially from the first world where, there's roads everywhere, there's addresses and postcodes and all that kind of stuff. As I say, I've been to Maputo, but I've been to Swaziland and I've been to, parts of West and East Africa. And, the road can be there one day, it can be gone the next day, because of rain or whatever, or the train doesn't come because the tracks are gone. So I think, a mobile solution is an important solution. And I'm curious to know about connectivity and the devices that people are using and how they're using devices as well to use your product.
Right. So that's always one of the main questions that comes up, and I think that's where the work experience in this sector is important, because it's always going to be a challenge. Look, no matter even in the same district, you'll have an area which has brilliant connectivity and another one which doesn't. Actually, most recently, I spent a little bit of time in Malawi, and in the same village, beneath one tree, you could get fantastic internet connectivity, and as soon as you move out of that tree, you cannot even make a direct phone call. So those are actually the type of conditions that you find, right? It's truth. What we generally do is we build our software solutions in a way that so first of all they can be used completely offline, because you're not doing a technology transfer for yourself initially. It's mainly for the people that you work with at the community level. So you need to make sure that if they have access to the softwares, they don't need you ever again, right? But then the question is, why will they ever give you any of the data that they're using? So that's where you need to provide some extra value. So for example, in that sense, what we generally do is we put the software offline, but for you to be able to send a message about, let's say, for example, the yield or the output that you have, or try to get information about some good agronomic practices, then what you do is you have to synchronize it and be able to download that information. And that is one of the ways in which we hook the communities to make sure that besides providing them a software solution, we also get some feedback from them about whatever we're providing them. Is it useful? Is it making an impact? And are you able to pick up other things of value from our software? Because what we don't want to do is, those are still emerging markets, let's call them, right? In agriculture, you're not working with very established markets unless you're working, for mechanized agriculture. So what you need to do is to first create some value, but then start to build a proof of concept for further value being created, and then somebody putting in money into that. So that's why it's a process. It takes time. But the main idea is that way. And about the devices, look, I think if you see one of the ingenious ways that people have started working, because Agritech doesn't have many investments in Southern Africa, one of the ingenious ways people have started tackling that is, either you go out and buy devices yourself, but again, we're a small startup. We're just kicking off, so we can't do that. But the other solution is identifying people at the community level, because there's always somebody who's more literate, has a little bit greater opportunities, identifying those people and seeing and making value for them to be able to act as points of expansion of your solutions into the communities. So those are two very common paradigms.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I can understand your challenges to an extent for various reasons. And I think you mentioned being literate and illiterate. I would expect that your solutions are very picture driven in order to cross that gap. And I love you talk about the value proposition, because I think that's important. I think a lot of that gets lost in solutions sometimes. People are very quick to build something, but not actually understand how it's going to be commercialized, not even for the company building it, but also for the people that are going to use it. Because if it's going to cost you lots of money and you don't get any value out of it, you're probably not going to do it, or you'd be remiss to be doing it. So tell me, like how do you cross the line and educate the users, or are you building stuff that you believe is so usable that they can just download the apps, so to speak, and just use it?
Okay, well, the first challenge is at that level, nobody's just randomly downloading applications on Play Store. So that's problem number one. So always there is some concept of education. But like Dara was saying, for us, it's very important to leverage partnerships to be able to do that, because look, in practice, you need some type of field force that's supporting these people to a certain extent. And in countries like Mozambique, it will be mainly composed of non-governmental organizations. It will be mainly composed of civil society organizations. So these are some of the partnerships that we're fomenting here in Mozambique, and also trying to expand, as I said, beyond. But for example, in Southeast Asia, in India, although they similarly do work with NGOs, etc., on that side, our strongest partners have been private sector. So we identify companies that already have their own networks as well, but also that have some field operations. And what we do is, so far at this stage, right, we've been supporting and building the tools, doing some consultancy in how to deploy those tools. But definitely it's a market that we would love to work with. And I probably will be in the next couple of probably by 2024 with some of our SAS tools. But then again, like I said, we've got two major, let's say, departments. So one is Agritechnology, which is really focused on rural development aspect, and that's the one that obviously has been more successful for us, just from the profile of our team and the experiences we have. But we also look for other, more traditional SAS products. Some of them based on AI as well, because that's something we think we can bring value, but always trying to make them for rural and peri-urban development, because that's where our sweet spot is. Yeah.
I can understand that, and I'm curious. I mean, are you with what you're doing? Are you using? I suppose. I mean, AI would be like machine learning to predict what the crops are going to be for the year, and sort of predictive analytics to say you're going to get. Based on the last 5 years of cashew volumes, you should expect about the same this year. And you're thinking about how weather impacts things. Are you going that far, like connecting all the dots that help a farmer to understand what their possible income could be, or what their value could be?
So we are doing that, but not for agriculture. So we're doing that for one SME business, like an SME business management application, right? It came up as an idea to help solve the business management difficulties that people have at a peri-urban level, right? They buy and sell stuff in the market, but they can't really tell you, which is the best product to sell. Which client should they be reaching out to? They don't know simple concepts such as sales funnel. So we're actually using AI in that component. But in the agricultural space, like I said, it's really more dependent on the types of partnerships we have, and if that's a requirement, that's something that personally I have done, and our senior developer as well has also done that personally. But unfortunately for Agritech Moz, we haven't yet got a project going that far. So for now, it's still I would say in the improvement of the smallholder farmer's life, and not yet into the nitty-gritty and the science of the agronomical science. So that's something we've got experience in, but Agritech Moz as a business has yet to go to that area. But that's something that, like I said, we're already using AI for other application, which is still under development. We've already done some beta tests. We've got a couple of partners looking at it. We've worked with about 30 entrepreneurs in India, Mozambique, and some parts of South Africa. But it's still some ways away from being a fully fledged product. So like I said, probably by the end of this year, I will be sending you a message for you to try it out.
Sounds good. Because I've seen macadamia nuts have picked up recently. Tim Ferriss was talking about them the other day from South Africa, and so was one of the other guys that Tom. I think of Tom's surname. But these are two sort of Tom's very much on the fasting sort of influencer side, I guess you could say. And it doesn't surprise me that cashews would be up there next as a thing. I mean, I know we talk a lot about cashews. There's probably other things you guys are doing at Agritech. What's the best way for people to have a look at what you're doing? Is there a demo site? Is there a way to get in contact on LinkedIn maybe? I mean, how would you want to be in contact with anybody who's interested?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got our website, which it's agritechmoz.com. So I will just type that in here in this chat box, but I think I can also share it with you afterwards. Here you go, sure. Agritechmoz.com. So that's where anybody can come in and just see some of the impact we've had. We've worked with quite a number of farmers in different geographies. We've also got obviously our digital portfolio on there, which anyone, if they ever want to access, they can speak to us. But like I said, we're a young organization. So I mean, we do have experience to support us, but we really at a very incipient stage, 1 year so far, almost a year, still in a couple of months, about 9 months. But what that means is that we are very fortunate to have people like Dara on our team who will be very happy to walk you through the kinds of work we've done and then etc. So Dara, I think you can also just leave there your contact, and all the people will be happy to speak to you.
Great, super. And we'll have your LinkedIn details. So that's great. It's been great chatting with you both, and I wish you all keep in contact. I hope it all goes well.
Cool. Thank you very much, Ryan. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Heather Bicknell is our producer and editor. Thank you, Heather, for your hard work on this episode. Please subscribe to the series and rate us on iTunes or the Google Play Store. Follow us on Twitter @the DWW Podcast. The show notes and transcripts will be available on the website www.digitalworkspace.works. Please also visit our website www.digitalworkspace.works and subscribe to our newsletter. And lastly, if you found this episode useful, please share with your friends or colleagues.